Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's January 4th, and it is 2021. So, Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome back. I'm kind of glad to be back. I was starting to get a little bored, but um, my only issue is I came back to 2 weeks of work I got to catch up on. So I'm going to be a little bit behind. As you can see, it's late that I'm getting this video up tonight. It's 7 o'clock, and I'm just now getting around to getting to do it, and I still got more I got to do. So it's going to take me a few days to catch up, but I'm going to move through this quickly. Somebody had asked me about how to remove we had the toolbar that we put out on the left side, and it's not like an indicator, so it doesn't show up in your indicators. Several of you have asked me, so go into your NinjaScript editor, and you'll see add-ons, and if you click on that, you won't see mine now. I'm clicking on it, but it would have it in here. It would have toolbar, and just click on that, and then hit delete, and then close down NinjaTrader and reopen, and that toolbar should be gone. And as you can see, it's gone from the left-hand side of my chart now. I just took it off right before I did this video, so I've been meaning to do it and just hadn't got around to it. So it is gone from my chart, and not sure why my trading time is gone. Hopefully I didn't. I may have to reset my other indicator, my BPX Max indicator, because it doesn't look like my times are showing up right. I may just need to restart the thing. I'm not sure. Let me just try that. Okay, restart did it. For whatever reason, I had to close it and restart it twice, so I'm not sure why. But anyway, you can see everything's back to normal. And the reason we're removing that old toolbar is because we have the new one up here. And if you're interested in it, if you're one of our members, it's free for download. Just go to our member section. It's there. And this is called, I forget what this is called. Let me just look here. Pat's toolbar. I don't know how I missed that, but the only thing I have on mine now are the BPX Mac, and there's two parts to it. There's only one file, but when you load it, it puts these two parts in, and then the toolbar, and then looks like my news is gone. We got the new news. I think it's J something J. I guess I could have done this. I'm gonna pause it so you don't have to go through this with me. Okay. Anyway, I got it back on here. Somehow I messed up my chart and had to kind of redo everything here. So if the colors look a little different, that's why. This hadn't been my day. It's been a long day, and now it's 7:30, and I'm just now getting to do this chart lesson. So I apologize. I know the website's been a little slow too. I think it was a combination of the fact that it was the first day back and we were bombarded. We probably had double the logins we normally have. We also, we're still doing some security upgrades in the background. We're doing some upgrades to the forum. A lot of you complained about not being able to copy and paste in the forum. We did some updates that allow you to do that, so you can copy and paste in the forum. You still can't copy and paste on the website, but you can at least do that in the forum now. So anyway, people ask for those things. I hope they're helpful. I do have the news thing on here. I don't have time to go change the settings yet, so I'll play with that some more later. And let's get to the trades because I don't have a whole lot of time left here. But you can see it was a really strong downtrend. And early on, you wouldn't have had this kind of cayenne color, the real light blue looking color. You wouldn't have had that. So really early on, you almost had to play these short-term trend channels. And I kept drawing these off the next high, and then eventually it came into play down here. And you can see there we've got a few trades then. But early on, I was basically just playing these shorter-term channels. And that was really the only way you could play it. So because you couldn't get this bigger picture. The light blue or the cayenne, I believe is what it's called. But anyway, let me back out. You can see the big picture. It was all downhill until we rallied a little bit into the close. That was a really big move down, so that's over 100 points. So yeah, really big move, 120 points or so. So maybe the volatility is back. It certainly looks like it, but this is definitely a strong downtrend. There's not a lot of super great setups here. So when it came back to the key entry point, if you got a good signal bar, you just about had to enter in most cases. But I'm going to have to really back out here to get this moving along so we can see it. And I'm going to go through these trades rather quickly just because of the time limit. And hopefully starting tomorrow, we'll kind of get back on track again. But we had this trend working up, and this channel's probably a little steeper here. I drew this from up. But you can see we really don't get a break and a new high. We get a little bit of an overshoot here, and actually I think it's a little steeper. It's probably more off that close than it is this. Let's just try that and see what that looks like. It does fit better, but then we don't get an overshoot. So either way, we don't get a retest here. We just start down this channel. And it's really hard to know if it's going to keep going or not. But once it just keeps going, you got to go with it. And it took a little while. There weren't any really good setups here. That's the problem. And we almost don't get a good setup till 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's a shame that you just don't get a better setup. But you might have taken one of these. We'll go through them. But anyway, we're working now. And you can clearly see the darker blue is an obvious, clear, tight channel. There's a two legs back to the key entry point. It doesn't really, it's more sideways than anything, and that's the reason I marked it green. It's really congestive, but you can see that's clearly right off that key entry point. So you may take that trade. It's risky. I don't really like it. Then we run on down and we come back here. The only reason I marked this one, and again, it's a little bit risky, but it's like 4 ticks. And this thing is just continuing to go. When you get a strong trend like this where you don't get where your pullbacks are more sideways than really going up, that's telling you something. So even though it's congestive, this is the kind of time where you might enter into some congestion if it's a good key entry point and relatively low risk, but this is 4 ticks. So pretty low risk. And if you catch that, you're going to get a runner on that, and you could ride that for quite a bit. We come down here and we finally get an overshoot, which leads to the break, and then a new low, and then all we do is correct sideways again for maybe 10 or 15 minutes before we head down again, and we just go into this yellow channel. Notice that we're coming up here. You get a move outside. You come back. You don't quite make a new high. At this point, you still don't have the blue channel, so we're looking for a retest of this low most likely. On a trend that strong, even with an overshoot, you're probably going to get a retest. So when you get this lower high here, I marked that one. Again, it's a little bit congestive, but this has been a strong trend. And on that lower high, again, it's only like 6 ticks, pretty low risk. And again, you get a pretty good move there. So I like that one. And then, of course, you try to go higher here, and then you make really that's a double test of that high. I'd really kind of look at it as a double top that confirms this trend line right here. And the key is, do you have enough room to get out? And this is a good example of why we only go for 4 ticks, because this is a very strong downtrend, and we got exactly enough to scalp out here, and then it would have went 1 tick higher and stopped you out before it went exactly where you thought. And so if you get a good setup and you follow the rules, now if you try to get any more than 4 ticks, you would have got stopped out on that trade. But that's exactly why we go for 4 ticks. It's amazing how many times these setups will get 4 ticks, and then that's all you're going to get out of them. That's just the way it works sometimes. But then we definitely get a double test now, and again, that key entry point holds, nice bearish bar, plenty of room to get out, and you probably wouldn't have got a runner on this. It depends on how you entered and how you played this one, but you probably wouldn't have got a runner on that one. And we start to move down again. And you just can't enter this far away from the EMA down here like this, not unless you get some kind of trap or something, which you really don't get. And then finally you get another 2 legs back. And It's mostly sideways, but it's still two legs. You can still see a leg up, correction, another leg up. That's two legs back to the trend line again. The signal bar is so-so, but it's mostly bearish, and this is a strong downtrend. Key entry point close to the EMA as well. I like that one. We finally get a break here, a couple legs down, and we come back, and I really looked at that as one leg down, so you're assuming you might get another leg here. And with that, the fact that this broke higher and then turns down, it didn't go out the other side, but it's just really bearish, and it's probably going to trap some people if it breaks lower. Yet you may not have even been able to get in this one because it look like gaps and just keeps going. So if you weren't trying to play the engulfing bar and having your stop in there, you probably didn't get this trade. But notice too that there's a low and you go down once and then you get it. So there's two legs back there as well. And that's where I drew this trend line across. But this turns out to be a really good trade, and you would have had a runner there, and then you just kind of go sideways again. This market can't even hardly correct. It just goes sideways on its corrections. And off we go again, and then sideways. And then, of course, keep drawing these trend lines until you get one that works. But here you're going sideways. You got two legs back, but not a good signal bar. But then you get a lower high on a little breakout pullback. I don't have the channel on there, but there's a little channel there. Which you can see right there. That's a little breakout pullback. Normally you wouldn't want to play that, but in a strong downtrend you do, especially with a good signal bar. And really this is higher than this right here. That's the way I would have that looking. And you can see it just pulls back, tests it, and then off it goes again. There's actually a failed second entry long here, but we just came off the lows, and you can see this channel is kind of setting up, and we're not quite back. And of course, there's a small trend up there, so I just don't think you want to enter here. Runs on down. And finally we bounce, and you don't want to go long at all on a day like this. Just wait until you know where this thing's over before you start looking for longs. Then we just start going sideways again. There is a lower high right here that comes off the trend line, and it's fairly bearish, but it's right there at the support area. And so I'd wait, and finally you get the lower high here, and again it confirms that trend line, and that's a really bearish bar, and the trend line's holding. So I like going short there. This one's tempting, but it's just you're getting. It looks like what happened is the channel has just expanded some, and now that's a midline across there. So that's the reason I don't like going short right there. But you can see that. But then you get the breakout pullback short again, and you try to go higher 3 times, it just turns down. So I like going short there. And you might have even considered going short here on this entry. It really looks like continued chances to attempts to push up, and it turns down right off that trend line. You do get a little peak outside of it there. I'd probably wait on the lower high, and that's the reason I didn't mark it. And then your lower high, we're just going sideways again. And this is somewhat of a little breakout pullback here, but this is really your signal bar, too bullish. Run down, and there's that 2 legs back that can't even correct. We're really still working lower on a 2-legged correction, and it turns down. You probably could have drawn that trend line, but it's not really confirmed until here. And so really you're just looking at this as the bigger channel that maybe we're going to go lower here. And so I like this one. Plus, technically by the count, it's not a failed second entry long because there's a little tick higher right here that's really the second entry long. Notice you're coming down, you get a first entry, a second entry, but that all looks like one move. So, and you get a little double test. It's really a double test of that high there. Again, I don't have it drawn across there. But you can see that resistance, and you made that high right there, and you test it once, twice, and it's right at the key entry point, the EMA. And like I said, you probably don't have that trend line necessarily confirmed or anything. So I like that trade still because it's the 2 legs back. And then we actually come back again and make a lower high, and it's just a little iffy on the signal bar. Otherwise, it's a good lower high and kind of confirms that trend line. You may take it anyway. It's a little risky though. Therefore, I marked it green. Run on down, we bounce, and you get a first entry, second entry. The key here is it's at the midline of the bigger channel, and we haven't made it to the low side yet. So you may want to risk this one in such a strong market. And it is a quick, easy trade, but then notice how we don't get to the low and we bounce. So that could have happened to you here. So, but I still like that one. At that point, it doesn't look very risky, but when you see this is what can happen to you. We run back, we finally get a close outside, and we're just going sideways during that close. But notice you run up, you get a close outside, a couple legs up, you try to go higher again and make a double top, and a nice bearish bar. You got enough room to get out right there. And then you get another one of those little lower high breakout pullback things. And this is really a hidden second entry here too. Notice that low, first entry, second entry. It's a little more advanced, so if it doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. It confuses new people a lot of times when I talk about hidden second entries. There's stuff on the website about it if you want to read it. But we run down, we don't quite make a new low, and then we bounce. So this thing was just way oversold. And unfortunately, I don't see, unless you want to risk a long here, this is very congestive, which I don't have the sideways channel on there. That's really, a downtrend like we've had without making a new low yet, that's super risky. And you really don't get a chance to enter until way up here when you've already had a break. And notice you're working up. And you come back and you get a first entry, second entry, but not a very good signal bar. You could have entered there maybe. You get a higher low here. I didn't mark it because this is probably still in play. And you may tick up and then turn down to make a new low and then go higher. But when it makes a failed second entry short and give you a nice signal bar, just go long right there. Then it runs up, makes a new high. So you really got 2 legs up with 2 legs in this leg. So it's 1 leg, correction, second leg. And within this leg, there's 2 legs. And we turn down after we make that new high. There's a lower high here, right into the EMA, not a very good signal bar. And then we come up here. Close outside, new high, and it confirms that trend line right there. Big bearish bar, like going short right there. There's actually a little tick higher here, but there's not enough room to get out now. Well, I forgot to mark that one, didn't I? I like that short right there because it confirms that trend line. It's a failed breakout, and it looks like we're going lower again. And then first entry, second entry, but that's 2 sideways. And then finally, this one's real close to being green. You could have marked this one green. But the reason I like it is you would think the downtrend's starting back. And notice how this trend line is still holding. You're making lower highs here each time. And so I marked that one. It's real close. You could argue for it to be green. And probably should be green. I'm going to change it to green because it's just a little bit aggressive, but it's a good signal bar. It's been a strong downtrend. And you really could look at this as a failed second entry long that you may not take because it's congested, but then you make a lower high off of it. And every one of those turn downs are right off that key entry point. So that's the reason I liked it. And it turns out to be a really good trade, but it bounces and takes you into 2 o'clock. And we continue to rally a little bit more. So pretty good trading day. Not as clear cut as you'd like because the setups were really difficult. They're not clear cut. You had to be a little creative and really experienced chart reader to see some of these. The key is just finding these key entry points and knowing that in a strong downtrend like this, if you get a good signal bar off that key entry point, you probably got to take it. So, and you want to be really careful about trying to pick a reversal here. And notice even when you did finally get a reversal type setup that made you think it was going higher, it was when this was playing out. So of course you don't know that maybe we're not flattening out there because that's way too steep. So you want to try to take it, but you had plenty of proof we've been working higher for a while before you take that one. You don't want to be trying to pick bottoms down here. No way, because you'll get burned. Because if anywhere you tried to pick bottoms down there, you probably would have got burned. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. That's what I saw today. Hopefully we can kind of slow down a little bit tomorrow and kind of get back on track. But I'm done for today. We'll be back again tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see